Welcome to the Learning Can't Wait podcast, a Full Mind production. At Full Mind, our vision is to ensure every child has access to an exceptional education. Each episode, we will be joined by pathfinders within and around the education space who are bringing about transformational change on behalf of deserving students. I am your host, Haley Spierbauer. Welcome back, everybody, to the Learning Can't Wait podcast. This took a minute to get to, but it is happening now. I am so excited to introduce you to our next guest. We have Roberto Vargas, the Managing Director of IT and Data Systems for Distinctive Schools, joining us today. Roberto, welcome.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here. Really glad that we finally found some time to get this going.
You say we so generously, but this really was a me issue. So thank you for your grace, but also very eager to have this conversation. I think you sit in a really unique spot in education and the education ecosystem. And it will be incredibly enlightening for our listeners to hear how you make decisions, what you're prioritizing, and how you're looking at the current education, federal fiscal climate as you think about how it impacts Chicago education for kiddos. So, should we jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Roberto, can you tell everybody how you came to be the personal and professional version of yourself, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I am a product of Chicago Public Schools myself. Grew up on the south side of Chicago, born and raised. And I always tell that my why and my origin story for what I do and where I'm at right now is because I was the students that we service. So I always had it in my mind after I got out of school that I wanted to do coaching because I love sports. And I went back to my elementary school and coached and did a little work there for a little bit. And then, just remembered those relationships that I had with teachers in my past who were like, hey, you know what? You can do better. Here's how you can do better. And here's what is out there for you that's just not in this neighborhood, right? Like think outside of the box, look for more opportunities. And, just the trajectory of that message really got me thinking and wanting to learn more every single day of what I'm doing. And that's pretty much how I got to where I'm at here is just learning, like always putting my hands into something and trying to do something different and always trying to service the students that we support. So I actually started off in one of our buildings as a building tech. And I remember going into that building fresh, new, not having any idea about what was going on, but I would go around to the classrooms and say, hey, what can I do to make your day-to-day easier on the tech side? Like, what can I help you with? And then from there, kind of bounced around a little bit in the network to a couple of different schools, made it up to the network level of Chicago International Charter Schools, which is the authorizer that holds the charter with this, CPS. And from there, I was doing a lot of data reporting and building out tools for teachers and principals so they can get to know their students a little bit better with their data. And we're doing a lot of NWEA data, attendance data, just things of that nature back in the day then, which were really cool because you could really see teachers grounded in that work of trying to be better for their students and learn a little bit more and taking that information to help them grow better to be more successful in their classrooms. And then I had the opportunity to come back to distinctive schools and doing similar things in the role that I'm at now. And that's pretty much where I'm at. That's how I got here, and I've loved every path upon my journey here has been an awesome one, and I really appreciate all the people that I've met and the things that I've got to do to get here.
You know, it's interesting because I often think about the tech support role as telling me to restart my computer or plug in the printer when I'm having some sort of problem. But you've sort of highlighted so far very quickly how integral the function of IT and data systems and technology are to a functioning school district. Can you talk a little bit about what you think people don't really know about this role and its function?
Yeah, I often laugh because when there's something wrong with like a website, they're like, put in a ticket, it's IT. Or it's like, I don't control the internet, so there's really nothing I can do. I can't do much with that. But when you really look at the space that we're in now, everything is technology, right? There's one-to-one devices, everything is cloud-based, everything's on the internet, everything needs a connection to something, smart boards, whatever it may be. And if something goes down, I found that there's times that just like folks don't know what to do right now. And it's like, how do we get back to kind of like a way of like paper and pencil too? Like, how do we commingle the two? Because if a building internet goes down and teachers are like, I don't know what to do because the internet's down, like where do we land on that, right? But it's also just like the space of like, okay, yeah, we need to be able to have a set number of devices. We need to make sure that we're doing the back end security of making sure that student data is protected on a network and on how we're connecting to the network and what devices we're bringing into the network. So it's just a lot of that back end that people just don't understand. Like everybody just thinks it's like it's running because it's running, but there are people who are in the back end making sure that there's security levels, there's different ordering procedures, there's different materials that are being bought, there's infrastructure, and there's just all these different things that help run a building. And I think like that's re what really people don't understand on the back end. It's like there's IT putting a ticket, they're gonna tell you to restart it, like you said, which is usually the running joke all the time is like, just restart it. Have you restarted it? I give people a hard time on the network team because they'll ask me for something and I'll look at their computer screen. I'm like, why do you have all those tabs open?
Yeah.
What are we doing right now?
You sounds like you're talking to me. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's that piece. I often think of it like when you build a house. So I've also like had to experience the rebuild of my house. And the frame is the building, right? Like it's the wood, the architecture, all of that. But then the next thing that goes in is the electrical. Like when you think about that kind of thing of how technology works, it's the same thing. So the building goes up, then everything electrical goes in. Lighting, cabling, internet, all of that good stuff. And that's how you kind of just have to think of the infrastructure of what a building looks like. The brains of that building is the technology side of things. And, we have to treat it in a good way so that it can be, beneficial and working for everybody throughout the time that we're there.
A key component that you mentioned, and I know to be true, is the cybersecurity aspect of a school. Students' information is federally protected, locally
Mhm.
protected. Their data is vitally important, more so than adults. So, let's talk a little bit about when you're considering vendors, what you expect as base case for the vendor to talk about when it relates to student PII and cybersecurity.
Yeah, so that's been a huge thing, and it's a big undertaking when you really look at it, and the amount of people out there who are quote unquote trying to protect student data, but also not understanding like what exactly they're protecting. It's just very much when I have conversations with vendors, it's I want to know those guidelines now of what's your policy, how are you protecting the data, where are you storing the data. And like I want to know what exactly you're pulling from that student data. Like why do you need this information and what is it going to do once it goes into your system? I was just having a conversation with somebody recently and they talked about how the data that all of these companies are pulling, like at one point we're going to get to where it's that data can be affecting that student later on in their life, right? Like a student now, if they want to apply to Harvard or Stanford or whoever it may be in this big elite school, they're going to have all this student information that's been there on the internet for so many years that we've been scraping and collecting and putting into systems because like it's just in there, it's in the policy and procedure of things. So it's like, how do we manage that? How do we stay safe with that? And that goes into a lot of the conversation that I look into when it comes to partnerships and what exactly it is that these companies are trying to take from us.
Yeah, it is such a vital piece. And I see so often leaders talk about, I've heard such leaders say things like, if they don't bring it up proactively in the first call, I already know there's a problem.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So shifting gears slightly, I know that in your role, you also are really excited, as I hope you would be given your role, about artificial intelligence and the potential that it holds to improve student performance, data infrastructure and intelligence, and a whole other efficiency, all the things. Talk to me a little bit about how you're approaching the introduction of artificial intelligence at Distinctive and what challenges you faced so far in doing so.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that we've run into is change management, right? Like getting folks to change that mindset of AI is something that can be beneficial to them. It's not always cheating. Distinctive schools is pride, we've prided ourselves. Prided, is that a real word? Uh, Distinctive schools is
We're
proud of the
making
fact.
it a new
We're,
word today,
we're
so
making it a new
don't
word.
worry.
We're,
Yeah.
we're making it a new word, prided. But Distinctive schools is very proud about being human-centered. And what we've tried to do with everything that we've put out in AI is grasp people's perceptions of it, right? So we created AI playbook, and from that AI playbook, we have taken student voice first, and we built it out. So we essentially built it out. We put in everything that we think was going to be what we needed for the network for the students, and then we had learner. We do learner advisories where we have students come in from sixth grade through 12th grade. And we put it in front of them. We said, hey, we know that you all are using AI. We know that AI is everywhere around you. Here is what we think AI is going to look like for the students in the buildings. You take a look at it and tell us what you think. And those students, they did a gallery walk of all the sections of the student portion of it, and they wrote down notes. I don't like this. I don't want my teacher to use AI to grade my work because of biases. And they understood this, which is amazing.
Mm.
So we took that information, and that's how we started building everything from the ground up. And then we took that, we sent it out to staff, we sent it out to parents as well to let them know, hey, this is what we're doing to make sure that your students are protected within our buildings and within the AI world of what we're doing. And from there, we even gave them a Google form. If you see something that you want more information on or you want us to change something, put in the request and we'll take a look at it and we'll take that information and we'll run with it and we'll put it into the next iteration of the playbook. And that's why we went with a playbook so that we can make those changes. We don't want to do a policy. Yes, we are using some of our acceptable use policy, our student policy, our handbook, but it's a playbook in the sense of we can change it, we can add more things to it, and we can do different things. And now the next portion of that is we have an AI expanded design team, which we've taken teachers and staff from all of our campuses and we bring them into the room. And now with them, they are also taking this playbook and we're putting frameworks into it and different ways that that teachers should be using it and having them take that information and again, splitting it out and getting that voice. And then the next version of this is the dream is that we get parent information in there, right? So yes, we do that form, but we also want to have some kind of parent advocacy in it as well, so that parents can understand what it is that their students are doing. Because there's a lot of parents who are, first generation Americans here in our network and are not native English speakers. So like they don't know kind of what their students are doing, and they're relying on their students to also kind of explain it to them. So we want to get that information in that voice so that they can also know this is what AI is. This is how it's shaping the future of your child, of your student, and this is what we're doing to make sure that they're in a safe space with
All right. Well, there are a lot of AI naysayers. All right.
it.
There are a lot of folks that are fearful, reticent for adoption, concerned about even PII, going back to that topic as well.
Yep.
What do you say to the naysayers?
You just gotta do it. Like it's here. It's
Who
here.
cares? Just go.
That's right. That's right. It's here. It's not going away. It's only changing. It's only shifting to be something different, something more. And our students are using it. It's being put into every single thing. And like, I'll use Mike Yates as an example here, where he gives the history of AI and how it's been like since the 60s and 70s. And we use AI every single day when we're talking to Siri or we're talking to Spotify or your Alexa and all this other stuff. Like it's there. That's all AI. It's just not LLMs. Like that's the shift, right? The shift is LLM, the large language models. But it's there. Like just do it. You just have to do it. What I suggest for people who are afraid of the AI portion of things is look at Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a great tool. And what Notebook LM, what I love about it is that it only looks at what you put into it. So it's a safe space, right? It's your comfort zone of AI. Get
Right.
used to it, load something, play with it, do whatever it needs to so that you can get that AI feel, and then step out a little bit more of a comfort zone and do something different, right? And that I think that's what it is. Like those naysayers, it's going to be here. It's here. It's already in the hands of students. I mean, they do it on Snapchat. They have their own apps. There's all kinds of different things. we have to embrace it, we have to do it, but we have to make sure that we're staying ahead of the students because if we fall behind and we're a step behind, then we're already going to be lost to the cause.
Yeah. I think often about the digital natives, which is like when I was teaching, those the students I was teaching were digital natives. They didn't exist in a world without the internet. They know like personal computers were part of their language. This population of kids that are in schools today are AI natives. And to your point, they know, right? Like you said, you did a focus group with them and they came equipped with the understanding of bias. I bet
Yeah.
a lot of adults still don't understand the inherent bias built into our LLMs as a function of the information we fed into these large language learning models that are dictating much of our society right now. Um, we're going to be behind if we aren't ahead at this
Yeah.
point.
100%.
You know, Roberto, there's another application you told me about before our call today that has me beyond thrilled. And I used to say that every student needs an IEP, and it's really hard to do that. But you have found a way to bring a personalized learning plan for every kiddo. You're trialing it, you're testing it. Talk to us a little bit about that initiative.
Yeah, so we have an AI design team. It consists of myself, our executive director of strategy, Molly Quinn, and our executive director of education, Jane Zott. And we have been working with our vice president, Katie O'Connor, on this. And she came up with this idea of having a learner profile built out. And we were trying to figure out what the best way to do it was. Was it Notebook LM? Was it Google Gems? Was it PlayLab? And we're just trying to figure out like all these different things and all these different tools. And the one that, I was like, hey, this is going to be a real easy win, a real quick, well, not so much quick, but well, yeah, it's a quick implementation process of putting it into Notebook LM. And again, it's that we're protecting the student data because it's only what we're putting in there. It's not going out to the interwebs and grabbing from anywhere else. And what we did was we took all of our students' information from attendance, assessments, behavior, grades. We also do listening conferences with students, and we put that information in there. And the students are also building out their own student profiles in like a Google slide. And with that Google slide and all that information, we're compiling it into one and we're dropping it into Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is now this driving source of a learner profile for teachers. And when we sat there and we worked with them in the first pilot meeting, and we're together for about half the day. Once we started digging in and actually showing them how they can put this information in there and how they can build out these students, the amount of just like shock and mind blown looks on folks' faces to like go in and say, show me students who like to learn this way. And it's boom, here's a list of those students. And here's how they say they like to learn. And it's like group these students or group students who haven't been at school for who have less than 80% attendance. And it's going to group those students or show me students who, have an IEP who have a low score here. And it's grouping those students. And it's taking just all of that information and allowing them to like have it at their fingertips immediately instead of having to like sit here and go through all of this information that they're looking through and creating their own notes. It's right there for them. And it's like they were just like mind blown of how quick and easy it is and how they can do like the amount of work that they didn't have to do that, but then the amount of work that they can put into their students because they have that at their fingertips.
That is the use case for AI that I want to see everybody having, right? Like that level of insight is so hard to gather. And if you're a new teacher, you may not even know how to triangulate all that information,
100%.
right? Like I used to coach teachers and I remember we would sit down with like every data source, like any math assessments, any reading assessments, self assessments, and we would sit there and we would be able to tell a story about a kid. But a lot of new teachers required handholding for that. The fact that you can still support your educator but get this picture painted in mere seconds, that gets me really excited.
Yeah, and it's really exciting. I mean, and it goes back to what I talked about earlier with the like data reporting, right? Like I remember teachers having to print out those reports and
Yes.
hand score all of their kids so they can know where they're at. Exactly like you were saying. Like you had to sit there and manually do that. But now we found a way that we can compile it all for them. And it's like, here it is. Run with it.
You know,
Go learn about your students.
Roberto, by the time this episode airs, which is next week, it's going to have out, it's this is going to be an outdated question because that's just the way of AI. But what is a tool that you're currently using that's new to you that you're very excited about? Either for professional, like personal professional, or at the school systems level.
Yeah, I have been geeking out on vibe coding and using Lovable. And I've loved that. Like I've actually used it in two different like activators now for activities. Built out a website, literally sitting right there in front of them as I was about to present. I was threw it in there, vibe coded an application, and was able to have that spit up a website for me. So I could just like, hey, create an image using Gemini and load it into the site. We're all going to take a look at what your thought process was and how you created this app. So or this image, I should say. Which I think is really cool. And I'm also really loving Nano Banana Pro. Like, I just love Google's names for stuff too. Like, who would name like an application Nano Banana Pro? But yeah, I really love.
What is Nano Banana Pro?
Oh, so it's their image creation tool. So
Mm.
Gemini, if you go into Google Gemini, you pretty much get hit with like a hey, this is our new application, and it is called Nano Banana Pro. And I think that Gemini has or Google themselves have really stepped up their image creation capabilities. And we had a really good time yesterday using that with some of our teachers on creating just images from scratch. It's been really cool.
I love that. Well, I always love to hear what other folks are using both for their, personal efficiency and also to help make the work they do more effective. It is what a time to be alive, Roberto. What a
It definitely is a time to be alive.
um, when I think about being in a school district and the insight you have into trends and learning and technology, one question that comes up for me is how are the students handling an uncertain future? With AI, there's a big belief that the students' professional careers are forever altered in ways that we still can't anticipate. Is that something you hear from the kids? Do they have any recognition of that? Or they're just like trusting faithfully in their leaders?
I think that kids are just trusting faithfully in their leaders, to be very honest. Um, I don't believe that a lot of them are looking forward to like looking forward, period, not to, but looking
Mm.
forward in terms of what this is going to be for them in the future. I don't want to say all of them, but I do know that there's some that do and have that understanding of what's going to happen in the future. But I think that's where our role as educators comes into play, is that we need to make sure that we are giving our students the right tools and the right information so that they can be AI literate in terms of what's happening in the world with AI and what's going to happen in the future with it. So I think it's really the onus is on us to make sure that we are providing our students with those resources and those capabilities to be successful in the future.
All right. So, as a final question, then we're going to speak to those teachers. What advice would you give teachers starting their career today, Roberto?
Um, relationships, relationships, and learn your students. Come into the classroom just wanting to learn who your students are and who you're servicing. Like I talked about earlier with the first question that you asked me, those teachers that pushed me to be better and to be successful and to think outside of the box and to, have a plan for the future were the ones who built relationships with me. Like they genuinely sat with me and had conversations with me and and knew what it was, who I was, and where I was coming from, as well as all the other my other classmates as well. But like those teachers are always the ones that I will always remember. It's because of the relationships that they've built with me. They got to know me. And honestly, as a new teacher, those kids want to be there with you. You're their person for the majority of the day. You like teachers have students longer than parents have students, like when you really think about it.
Facts.
So when a student comes in and they have a new haircut, hey, tell them, hey, great haircut. Even if they don't have a new haircut, but it looks different to you, hey, great haircut, because that is going to immediately spark that student that you like that student or not like that student, you appreciate and you've noticed that student
You
has something
notice,
different.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to give you all of their attention. They're going to give you whatever it is that you want from them that morning or that day because you have shown them that you've paid attention. So relationships, learn your students. Those are my key words for new teachers.
Roberto, thank you so much for sharing what you all are doing at Distinctive Schools, but also your personal philosophy and how you're approaching integration of new technologies in a time when there's more to think about than ever. I have so enjoyed this conversation and more generally just watching how you approach it all. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
I really appreciate being here. Hopefully we'll do it again in the future.
And I won't reschedule this time. And thank you to everybody for tuning in today. Thanks for listening to the Learning Can't Wait podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and share this episode. Be the first to know when we have a new episode by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have a suggestion for an episode, email us at podcast@fullmindlearning.com.